Rabbi said this week's parasha, as we know, has in it the Aseret HaDibros, and has within that Zochas Yom HaShabbos L'Kadshay. So we cannot go past this week without discussing a Inyan in Shabbos Kodesh. And I wanted to do something a little bit different. Normally we go through like the Malachas, we pick like a subject, we pick one of the Lamates Malachas, or one of the Xaviers to Rabbanons, and we discuss those. Well, I want to do something a little bit different today, possibly tomorrow, maybe even Sunday. And that is to go through a topic that covers a lot of different topics. In other words, to learn this in Shulchan Aruch is going to be difficult because you're going to have to go from simon to simon. But we're going to sort of compact it into one idea, and we're going to try to go from there. What I want to discuss today is a common shaila, but I want to go through all the issues, all the problems that could come up with this shaila, and that is Cholent. Cholent. Let's talk about all the shailas that could be negeya with Cholent, whether it means taking it off, closing the lid, whether it means mixing it, taking Cholent from it, adding water, putting it back, all the different shailas that come in, and there's many of them, to how to eat it, what bracha to make, that's a whole different shaila. But al kaponim, there is a minig. I have yet to find the makar. If somebody finds me a car, please let me know. The minig, say yeshivish minig, that you have to eat Cholent Friday night. Right, you taste a bissel, right? Shaila, if the Cholent is so good the next day, because the mice, when you take it out, right, the water goes down. There's a lomdus. Okay, it's not for now. We'll do that during Ian Seder. We'll talk about that. But al kaponim, was that Thursday night Cholent? That's a whole different din. That's a different din. No, there's a din gavra, there's a din chefza, whatever. Al kaponim, the din to have Cholent Friday night is a choshev azach. So the question is, if you don't know what you're doing, very likely you're assering your Cholent for Shabbos morning. Right? People don't chap that. Very likely you could be asering a Cholent Shabbos morning. If you really don't know what to do, you could be over many Isurei D'Oraisa and D'Rabbanons, and could affect whether or not you're allowed to eat the Cholent on Shabbos morning. I have been places where they told me what they did Friday night on the Cholent, they took it off, whatever it was, the whole situation, they told me, is it okay? And I smile, I'm like, no, but now don't serve me any Cholent now because I'm stuck, because now I can't eat it, right? It actually sometimes asks it even b'di'evet. So there are many, many shailas I want to go through. We are not going to do justice to every shaila because every shaila requires a sheh b'fnei atzmai, right? I could spend theoretically 25 shurim just on discussing every shaila that's nageh, but we're going to give it a little bit of a summary. Shabbos is coming, the Heilige Lubliner Rav. The Lubliner Rav would never make Kiddush on Shabbos, Friday night, without doing Chazorah of the ganze Hilchah Shabbos. Wow. Shabbos is coming, I need to do Chazorah. How am I going to keep Shabbos if I don't know what to do? So you quickly Chazor, the ganze Hilchah Shabbos before Shabbos. So I don't know if we'll get there, right? But it's a she'ifa, it's a goal that we could try and get to. And let's discuss at least whatever we can that negate to the shaila. Okay, Rabbi, so listen carefully, because we're going to go through a lot of shailas, and it's going to be very, very interesting, and it's very, very, again, these are practical things you have to know every single week. Be'ez Hashem for the rest of your life. Your wife's going to ask you this question. No, the yak is going to ask you this question. What were you doing in yeshiva all those years? Tell me, I got to take off the Cholent. I don't know. It's probably okay, no? That obvious answer you say to your wife. It sounds okay. I think it's okay. Yeah, I think it's okay. The next morning you go over to the other and say, I did it last. Could you tell me if that's right? You know, normally when people ask those shailas, it normally means they're doing something wrong, trying to find a justification. Okay, so it could be a shaila of shalom bayis. You have to be careful how to answer the shaila, because you don't want to get involved in all sorts of problems over there. Right? I told you this already, right? I once answered a shaila on the phone. A woman calls up and she asks a shaila on the phone. I don't remember what the shaila was, nothing crazy, whatever it was. And I answered the shaila. It was a pretty straightforward shaila. And I heard straight away when I gave the answer, you see, I told you I'm right. There you go. Baruch Hashem. Okay, so let's discuss the shailas. Number one, first shaila we have to get to is a shaila of bishul. Right, now the bishul could be again in a few sections. Number one, the problem with the Cholent itself, is it fully cooked? Now we're going to discuss that on many different levels. That's number one. Number two, we're going to go through the Doraisas maybe before we get to the Durabonans, okay? So number one, bishul on the Cholent itself, and number two, bishul on the water. So obviously, if you want to add water to Cholent, we'll start with that. The Cholent's getting a little bit dry, it's Friday night, I want to add some water. What's the halacha? What do I do? What can I do? What can I not do? And how can I do it, okay? We'll talk about basar b'chalav as well, but Be'ez Hashem, it's very, very negay as well. Filling it up from the urn, does it make it treif? Can you have a coffee tomorrow morning with milk from that urn? We'll get to that as well, Be'ez Hashem. But first we'll get to the obvious ones. And that is adding water. So obviously the water that you add has to be A, boiling hot, and number two, has to come from a source of heat. because you're putting it onto a source of heat, right? I sat next to a guy when I was a Rosh Cholent Ganigula, so I sat next to a Chassidish guy who was probably married, I think, 14 years, I think he told me, and he says to me like this, he says to me, right, you're allowed to add filtered water into the cholent, even if it's cold, but it's already been filtered, so it's okay, you can put it into the cholent. I'm like, 14 years of marriage. Gewaldig. Right? Machal Shabbos every single week. Right? Pasha didn't know. He thought if it was filtered, you're allowed. It doesn't make a difference if it was previously cooked. Doesn't make a difference if it was hot, because at the end of the day, where's it coming from? It has to come from an urn or on a kettle, somewhere that's al ha'esh, because you're putting it onto somewhere that's on the eish, meaning you're putting it into the cholent, which is either on a crock pot, or it's on a pan on the fire, or on the blech, or something like that. So it has to come from a place that's fully cooked. So that's the first and most obvious thing when you're filling up the water of the cholent. You've got to make sure that the water is A, boiling hot, which it will be if it comes from a source of heat, and it's coming from a place of heat, right? You can't put it, for example, somebody once asked me, are you allowed to put it in from an urn, right? You have an urn, you know, one of these flasks, not connected to the chashmal, it just keeps it warm, right? You go, for example, on vacation with these things, you take a coffee in there, it keeps it hot. Are you allowed to take boiling hot water from there and put it into the cholent? Nope. Obviously not. Why? It's not coming from a place of heat. It has to come from a source of heat. It has to go from an eish to an eish. If it's off the eish, you can't put it in, because that's a shayla of chazara, or Nesina l'chatchila. Tosfos says, we're not going to go into exactly all the names, but al koponim, it has to come from a place of heat, okay? That is number one. Number two, the cholent itself, right, has to be 100% cooked. Now we will discuss if you take it off and it's not cooked, can you put it back? We'll get into that. We'll talk about putting it back, holding it, not holding it, Reb Moshe. We'll get into all of those sugyas. We'll talk about the lid as well, but Ezus Hashem Yisbarach. We'll get into all of these shilas. Now, so it has to be that the cholent is fully cooked. If the cholent is not fully cooked, by the way, you cannot add liquid to it. Okay, so if the cholent is not fully cooked, by the way, there's not much you can do. So if you want to add, or if you know that you may have to add water into the cholent sometime on Shabbos, make sure that you put the cholent on early enough that it will basically be fully cooked at the point that you may want to take it off, put it back on, open the lid, add water, or whatever it may be. If it's not fully cooked, there's nothing you can do. Next shiloh, Rabbi say. Yeah.
No ketchup in the cholent.
You mean in the nafka min is well the gabi bishul. If you put the ketchup is already cooked already, so ein bishul bishul. So it could be even if you brown sugar. Okay, recipes. If anybody wants to share their recipes for cholent, send it in aw@etrog.net.il. We'll go over there together with your donation, obviously. Then we will take every recipe seriously. Okay, Rabbi Say. So now the next shayla is like this, right? There is a machlokes rishonim as follows. The machlokes rishonim. This is brought down in Simon Shin Yud Ches Sif. Hey, that talks about the machlokes rishonim about bishul achatzli or tzli achabishul. Meaning as follows, Rabbi Say. Let's just clarify. There is a shayla. When I reheat something, bishul achabishul, is that mutter or is it asa? Right? Am I allowed to recook something that was previously cooked? Without going into all the details, halacha lemaisa, a schnitzel, a piece of chicken, a kegel, whatever it may be, a piece of potato, a rice, all of those things that have been previously cooked, I'm allowed to recook them. In the inverted commas, right? It's not really recooking, it's called reheating it. What's that? Heating it up. Very good. Now, you have to know how to do it, how to put it on the blech, in the oven. We're not going into all those shilas right now. However, a liquid that became cold, like chicken soup, you're not allowed to heat it up. Because why? Yesh bishul acha bishul b'davalach. That's beautiful. So, by a solid, no problem. By a liquid, problem. What if you change the way of cooking something? For example, what if you bake something that was previously cooked? What if you cook something that was previously baked? Classic example is putting bread or croutons or anything similar to that into your soup. Bread is baked, or for example, to make this even more negeya, on Pesach, those of you, for example, that have egg lokshen, right? Very common egg lokshen, right? Gavaldik. It's a big thing, no? The kids fight about these things, no? It's not just in my house, right? It's a big thing. Egg lokshen. How much did you get? How much did you get? I don't know why eggs for some reason are not exciting to anybody, but on Pesach, in the chicken soup, for some reason it's exciting. Because on Pesach you got nothing else to eat, I hear. No, automatically you're hungry on Pesach. You're just starving for whatever it is. It's psychological. Anyway, so are you allowed to put an egg into your chicken soup? What's the shayla? You don't deep fry your eggs, I hope. If you don't deep fry your eggs, so your eggs are basically classically baked, because they're done without liquid, right? It's baked, it's put on a frying pan that's dry. So how can you put it into your soup? Okay, I don't want to go into all the details, but you understand the idea. Can I change the way of the method of cooking? In other words, bishul achatzli, tzliach habishul. Machloikes rishonim gemorim psachim daf yomi now, but al kaponim halacha lemaisa we are machbe. The Ramah says that we're machbe. Right? Cliche, not cliche. Okay, I'm not going to go into all the situation, the mishpus, the cotton yud, because enough kamina, the gap of the ladle. We're not going into all the sugyas right now, but just to understand, what's the shaila? So Moshe Shtomach and Chuvas Van Hogas Chaligebes has a shaila like this. When you add water to a cholent that's dried up, sometimes you open up, it's like sizzling, you know what I mean? It's lost all the liquid, it's completely sizzling, it's roasting away. You add water, we get cholent tomorrow morning, Baruch Hashem, right? Geschmack. But what did you just do? What did you just do? You just started cooking something that was roasting. Hello? You cooked something you roasted. Why? It's roasting away on the fire there, and it really is. Even according to Chazon Ish, that holds it has to get a tam tzli. Here, we'll get a tam tzli. It's roasting away. It's mamish roasting. And you're adding water, that's bishul. How do you have to do that?
You don't want it to roast?
No. It doesn't help you.
No.
That's good, I like that. You're just not. Very good. You are. Why? Because the Be'alacha writes that if something was, and again, Rabbi said there's so much, we could spend hours on this. If you have bishul, achat tzli, achat bishul. In other words, I originally cooked it, then it went tzli, then I cooked it, that's mutter. So originally the cholent was cooked because there was loads of liquid. The liquid diminished and then it became into tzli, and I'm recooking it, so I didn't change anything from the original one. Okay? That's pretty simple. That's what it. Moshe Shtomach says, by the way, don't wait until the last moment. Don't wait till it's sizzling away to add water. Try to add water while there is still water in there, just so you get out of the shaila. Okay? David, you with me? Binyamin? So far so good? Understood? Simple? Gewaldig. You did yeah? Good. Let's talk about the next one now. Let's go to the Heilige Kolboy, Rabbi Say. Let's talk about the Heilige Kolboy. What's the Kolboy shaila? What's the Kolboy's problem when it comes to adding water to cholent? Megis. What's megis? What's megis means? To mix. Are you allowed to mix cholent on Shabbos? By the way, the Pri Megadim has a shaila. If it's also, then how are you allowed to scoop it out? How are you allowed to take a ladle and scoop the cholent out from the pot? It's not so posh. What's that? That's not true. When you take it out, mixing is happening. When you take a cholent out, a liquidy good Hungarian geschmacka cholent, you take out the ladle. We had to do tasters. We did it. No, we didn't do taste by the whiskey. We don't have to do taste for the cholent. It's fine. It's okay. Okay. What's that? We combine the two. We should do the two tastings together. Kira, both sides. Friday night Einig? Okay. So the shaila is like this. The shaila of Meg is like this. Now, those of you that are familiar with the Gemara in Beitza Lamadala Domadalef, getting there soon, right? You up to there yet? Almost. Beitza Lamadala talks about the shaila of Megis, which basically means when you take a pot and you mix it, you're chayav mishum bishul. And the simple reason is, says the Merchas Mishnah, that when you mix something that's in the process of being cooked, you're making it cook faster. That's the metzias, right? When you want something to cook faster, you give it a mix, and therefore the things that are on top go to the bottom, and it also overturns everything, and it makes everything cook quicker. If that's the case, Megis is a shaila of bishul. That when you mix something, you're over on bishul.
It's not cooked. What is it?
Comes along Levi Yitzchak and says, very nice. That's only if it's not cooked. Or if it's cooked, mashayla. Okay, we'll talk about the kolbak. Just give me a second over here. Okay, this is very negaya. This is very negaya. People like stirring the cholent, right? In or out, doesn't matter. You stir it, give it the consistency, give it the same color, the same texture all over the place, right? Right, Yehuda, you ask him? Okay. Now, if that's the case like this, if it's not fully cooked, you're 100% right. If it's not fully cooked, it's 100% asa. So shalav is a deraisa, because the maisa you're cooking, especially if it's ala eish, if it's on the fire and you've got the crock pot there and you give it a mix, that's an issa deraisa. You mamish cooked on Shabbos. You're over on bishul, shalav, maisa Shabbos. In the beginning of Seven Shen Yud Ches, we talked about it in Sif Aleph, whether it's an afkaminit, b'mezid, or b'shoigig. What's that?
It's not on the fire, there's still a problem?
Oh, excellent question.
You can't take it off the fire.
One second. What's that?
You can't take it off.
Well, you could take it off, you just can't put it back on.
Right.
We'll get to all of that. That's where everything over here is intertwined. Okay? Now, if it is not fully cooked, obviously it's asa to stir it even off the fire. Right? That means if you take the cholent off, you realize it's not fully cooked. Chaval. Let me give it a good mix, asa. Because it's in a clearishin. Kol Zman, Yerushalmi says this clearly. Kol Zman, you have a Kli Rishon. I feel if it's not on the Eish, but it's Yad Soledes by hot, it's got a din of Mavashal. It cooks. Nathaniel, are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. If that's the case, if you take the cholent off the fire, it's not fully cooked, it is also to stir it in that case. Okay? Comes along Rabbi Sai, the Kol Boy. And the Kol Boy says, even if it's fully cooked, you're over an Issa D'Oraisa Bishul. And that nobody can understand. What is the pshat? If I have a cholent that is 100% fully cooked, and I mix it, megis it, I do hagasa, and all of a sudden the Kol Boy holds, I'm over on an Issa D'Oraisa. I'm just going to take him out, throw him off the cliff, and kill the guy. What's the pshat? What did he do wrong? It's a fully cooked cholent. Yaakov, מה אתה אומר? מה אתה אומר? תגיד לי, נו. Hello? Okay, what's the pshat? So the Pri Megadim says a beautiful pshat. The Pri Megadim says you're improving the quality. And if you're improving the quality of the item, that's called bishul. Everybody see with me? Naftali. Good so far? We're going to learn this inside. It's Hashem, when we get there finally. Right? So when you improve the quality of the item, the Pri Megadim hold that's bishul. The Shvisas HaShabbos learns the problem is that there might be one bean on the top, that when you mix it, true, the whole cholent is cooked, but there'll be a little bean on the top that's still hard. By you mixing it, you're putting that bean inside, and then you're over on bishul in that case. The Chazon Ish wanted a tiny that by mixing it, you make up, so ponim chadosh is balakan, it's an inyan chadosh, it's a new thing, and that's why it's asa. Now, if that's the case, that's only going to be pashtas on the fire. When is the chumrah of the Kol Boy? Only when it's al ha'esh, meaning it's in the crock pot, on the fire, it's on the blech, it's on the hot plate. What if it's off the fire? I took the cholent, it's fully cooked, and it's off the fire. Am I allowed to mix it now?
Yeah.
So the Ramah says that you should be machmeh and not mix the cholent off the fire. That means, again, Rabbi, let's get this clear. I took the cholent off, I want to give it a mix. The Ramah says it's better not to. You should be machmeh not to, even though lemaisa, most poskim are makel, including the Taz and the Mishnah Berurah, that they're makel to say that if it's off the fire, it's not on the fire, it's not on any source of heat, and it's fully 100% cooked, you're allowed to stir it off the fire. However, the Mishnah Berurah says a very interesting lashon, and it's important to know the lashon of the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah's lashon, the Chavetz Chaim's lashon over here is haroitze lahachmeh, then be machmeh, only stirring it off the fire but not taking. Which means, the Mishnah Berurah is telling you like this, haroitze lahachmeh. It doesn't say tov lahachmeh, Yerushalayim should be machmeh. He says, if you want, there's only a makom to be machmeh, to mix it off the fire, but not to take from it. Taking from it would be 100% okay. Only mixing it would be, again, haroitze lahachmeh, me'ikar adin, there is no problem. What about the actual mixing of the water? Pouring of the water in. Let's say I've got all the tanoim, it's fully cooked, it's off the fire. What's the din over here? So the Beis Yosef brings this Kol Boy, and he talks about the inyan of pouring water into cholent is hagasa. Because when you pour water into cholent, what does it do? It causes everything to get mixed around a little bit. So it's basically like taking a ladle and mixing it. So according to the Beis Yosef, according to that, it could be a problem of hagasa, even if it's fully cooked, by the way. No, it's not a grom, it's a ma'aser biyadayim that you're doing. So most poskim hold, even on the fire, it's going to be mutter as long as it's 100% fully cooked. Some hold you have to only do it off the fire. It's a machlokes haposkim. Many hold what you should do is, and this is the pshara of the Chazon Ish, Rav Osner Shevet Halevi, the Ksos Shulchan, Dain Fisher, Rav Chaim Kanievsky, that they hold you should pour it in very, very slowly. Right? And this could be the case sometimes if you cannot take it out. For example, we'll get to it, Be'ez Hashem, tomorrow. When can you not take it out because you can't put it back in? So then it could be okay to pour it in very, very slowly, and then you're not doing a Ma'aser Hagasa. Now, what about the last shayla we have to deal with today is replacing the lid. What about putting the lid back on, right? People have this, I don't know what it is, it's a taiva to open the lid, give a shmek, put it back on. Gewaldig. Yaitze Einig Shabbos, Mutter or Asa. Right? So it's a double poshut ad ma'oid, that if the cholent is not cooked, then that is asa. To take it off, no problem. But to replace it is asa. How do we know that? We know that because we learned Yeridei, Siman Tzadi Beis. And what is the Shulchan Aruch saying Yeridei Simon Tzadi based by Basa v'Cholov? Tipa shenafla l'soicha tavshil, right? All the sugya Tipa shenafla b'bachutz Machoikas Ri and Rashi over there of the Gansa Machoikas Rishonim, which is Ravadia held it was the hardest run in Shas to learn. And I'll upon him without going into the details that if you've got a drop of milk that falls onto a pot of meatballs and you close the lid, so the entire pot becomes mitztaref. It comes combined as if you basically mixed it. And therefore, since we learn from there that closing the lid on something retains the heat inside in a more intense manner, therefore it comes out that what? It comes out that closing the lid on a pot that is not fully cooked is going to be intensifying the heat and therefore causing the item to get cooked. Shimon asked a Modige kasha, grama. Beautiful kasha. Beautiful kasha. What about a grama? Let me ask you a question, Shimon. When you put a chicken soup or a cholent on the fire on Shabbos, it only gets cooked al grama. It's going to take 3 hours to cook. That's a grama, right? No, because that's the mahalach habishul. The mahalach habishul is to cook it by putting it on and leaving it there. How you learn that between this and Zoreya, without going into every detail. As I said, we can go on for hours. Al kaponim, if to put on a lid, if it's not fully cooked, no way. If it is fully cooked, what is the din? In that case, we're talking about al ha'esh. If it's not on the fire, no problem whatsoever. If it's al ha'esh, so Moshe's machmeh. Rav Moshe's machmeh, the Tiladova, the Shvista Shabbos, Shmir Shabbos is machmeh. But the Maisa, many gedolim, including Rav Shlomo Zalman, Rav Vosnan, Shevet Alevi, Rav Elyashiv held, Rav Nissen Karelitz and Chodshoni held that if it's fully cooked, even on the fire, there is no problem in recovering the lid. Be'ez Hashem Rabbi Sai, we've got a lot more still to discuss. Putting it back, only if it's fully cooked. Not fully cooked, no one holds its mutter. We've got to discuss blechs, putting it on, taking it off. Be'ez Hashem tomorrow. We'll go to that. Have a wonderful Gavaldig day.